rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Welcome to episode 58 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Get after it. You know, last couple of podcasts were kind of tough to think about. The content, and we went over that, the losses and the sadness that's out there. One of the things I wanted to follow that up with is actually, how important things are to us, how short time is. It's totally up to us, guys, at the end of the day. The quality of life we're going to have, it's in our hands as far as, doing what we need to do to be whole, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And being whole, will mean different things for different people. For some people, it's a family, it's a job, it's a balance. It's also being true to yourself. For me, my family is super important, my wife and kids. For me, going after the things I want to do is super important. My business, building my brand, these things are very important to me. They are what make me whole. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, as we should be, and that's what makes us wonderful and interesting as human beings. But I think the underlying tone for all of it is to go after what you want, to get after it. Because at the end of the day, that's the stuff that's in our control. And we talked about, the passing of my friend Sean, and how sad that is. We talked also about Robert Smith's book, The Frankenstein Condition. And I think one of the things that's really important is if we have a life of purpose, I think that's going to help us deal with a lot of these things that come at us, because we're all going to run into some depression at certain times. We're all going to run into feelings of loneliness. And that's inevitable. It doesn't matter who you are. But if we have a sense of purpose and we're going after something and something that's important to us, I think we limit the amount of effect that'll have on us. I think we limit the amount of opportunity those thoughts have to fester within us overall. Some things that have gotten me through stuff is the fact that I just had to get up and open the gym. I had to make sure that rent was covered. I had to make sure that I got up to take my kids to school, because there are days where I would just want to sleep in, where I'd be beat up physically or beat up mentally. Having that purpose, having the reason that you have to get shit done, right? How many times have you done this? We're going on a trip. We're excited about going on the trip, right? So we're going to make sure the night before the car's gassed up, we got everything to do because we're excited. How many times have we gone to go into work and the car's on empty and we realize we didn't gas up and now we're going to have to gas up and we're going to be late? Well, what's the difference? The difference is one thing really meant a lot to us, so we didn't want to have anything get in the way of it. One thing we probably didn't like as much, so we're not happy with our job or our career. So subconsciously, we know we should still fill the car up and be ready. Right? But it doesn't matter as much because we're not happy given the situation that we're facing the next day. And I think that's super important to look at. I think that is very interesting to look at and to understand. Two things happened this weekend. As I said earlier, my good friend Sean took his own life and left us. So very tough. In the same weekend, another friend of mine had his wrestling debut. The two things couldn't be more diametrically apart than if you planned it. But in it, though, I think there's also something to look at, is that what leads one person to get to a state where they feel they have no reason to live and the world is better off without them? And what leads one person to decide that, hey, you know what, I've always wanted to be a wrestler. I've always wanted to do it. And my friend Denis, who had his debut this weekend as Lance Law in a wrestling match, at 36 years old, went after something and wanted to do something. And it was something that was special to him. So what causes that? Why is there such a difference in the two people? And, illness, for sure, guys, makes a big, big difference in that. I totally agree with that overall. I think it's so important that, we want to make sure that when someone is suffering, we have help that's out there for them so we can help them get through it. Because, there's also a chance that, we could have helped Sean, or Sean could have got some help, and he got to it sooner. But, it's hard to say, right? Who knows what was going on in his mind and stuff. He was surrounded by people that loved him. He was surrounded by people that cared for him. And I think sometimes with a disease, sometimes no matter what you do, things aren't going to work out the way you want them to work out. But I'm like, let's exhaust all the avenues. Let's take every opportunity to see if we can salvage it, if we can mitigate it, if we can make it better. Right. And then, so let's flip to this weekend, where Denis is, at a wrestling match where, he had like 100 people that came to watch him from work through the gym. He's a member of the gym at Hostile. There was like 20 plus of us just from the gym alone that were there. And we were celebrating with him. Right. It was fun. It was exciting. Someone we knew was doing something. And I think that's part of the excitement, is that someone we know is doing something they want to do. And I think we want to be around that. We want to be a part of that. We want some of that to rub off on us, right? And I think that's super valuable. But either way, each one of these people went through something this weekend that affected the people around them, right? So I think we have a duty to go after the things we want to as well, because we never know who that's going to motivate. We never know who that's going to inspire. We never know who that's going to get them out of the house for one night, and they're going to have a fun time and a blast, and maybe they haven't had fun in a long time, right? I think there's a lot of things we don't realize, the ripple effect, the butterfly effect, if you will. That scary movie that happened, that kind of thing, right? There's so many things. You throw a pebble in the pond and the rings go out and out and out and out, right? Affecting the other edge of the pond much later in a different way than was intended when that pebble was thrown in. We're the pebble, guys. Going after it has so much for us to benefit from as individuals, for our personal growth, for our journey, for our sense of wholeness, our sense of well-being, our sense of, here's one of my, I'm happy, I'm doing something, right? And you never know who else that's going to inspire along the way, right? I'm a big believer, if he can do it, you can do it, right? If someone else can do a certain thing, it's like giving permission to the rest of the world to do it as well. Right? Being first is always tough. And a lot of people out there want to be super, out there all the time, and we want to be the first. And that's super important to us. And that's great. Those trailblazers are important, because we're going to sit back, and there's two types of us. We're going to sit back and admire the successes. And there's the other type of us that are going to sit back and hope there's a failure. Why do you think those videos on YouTube, the fail army videos and stuff like that, are so popular? Because there's a part of us that wants to see the car wreck as well. There's a part of us that wants to see two people beat the shit out of each other on their front lawn, right? There's a part of us, though, that'll come to tears when we see another person help another person out of the goodness of their heart. Drives me a little crazy. I see some of these videos now that are trying to go viral. That's the problem with Facebook and YouTube, is that not everyone, but a lot of people are focused on, what can I put out there that goes viral rather than the content of what they're doing. So there's a couple guys that are always doing this. They help the homeless, and there was one where they buy this guy a guitar and stuff, and he's so happy, and it was so staged, it's ridiculous, right? I don't think that helps us either. I don't think that benefits us. I don't think that does anything other than work as clickbait to get the people to go to their site for whatever. I don't think you're doing an honorable service. I think at the end of the day, we shouldn't be helping people to be seen that we're helping people. I think we should help people to teach the people around us that we help those when we can. It's the same effect. It's the same act, but two different meanings. It means a lot. I know people that, go down to the soup kitchen, and they sure as fucking announce the shit out of it all the way down to make sure the whole world sees that they're going down there. And then you'll find people that have been doing it for 20 years have never told a person, right? I think if you got some social, media, power to you, I think lending your hand to a project or lending your hand to a cause is a good thing to do, right? I think that's a little bit different as well. But at the same token, it's doing the things we do when no one else is looking that really, really says a lot about us, right? And to ourselves, a self-respect. But going after things, guys, no longer accepting, the excuses we make for ourselves, right? Here's an example. We talked about my friend taking his life. It's sad. It's horribly sad, right? What's horribly sad, though, is the lost opportunity. the lost opportunity, that's where I feel sad that if I would have known, I would have done more. I know that, right? The lost opportunity for him not to be around later on in life when other things happen for his family, his children getting older, his children getting married, that's gone, right? It's pretty sad. It's a pretty tough thing to see. I look at my children, they're 14 and 16, and I want to be there for them, right? And sometimes, I know there's days where, like I said earlier, that's what got me out of bed that day is because, they need me to be there no matter what. So I think that sense of purpose has a lot to do, has a lot of benefit, has a lot of value. I think, creating that for ourselves, we talked about earlier episodes about pressure and how we need some pressure, but put a positive pressure on ourselves, commit to ourselves, commit to bigger things in us so that it's going to pull us through the tough times. It's going to pull us off the couch when we would just naturally want to stay on the couch. It's going to pull us out of bed in the morning. Normally we would sleep in. It's going to make us want to go to bed earlier because we know we have to get up the next day because we've got something that we have to take care of, something that we committed to, something that's bigger than us, something where people are depending on us, right? Or something that we're just depending on ourselves. I think the sad part, and again, I think we're all guilty of it, me too, is we make these covenants with ourselves. I want to do this. I want to make this happen, right? And then we'll let ourselves down. I wanted to eat good yesterday and I didn't eat very well. Well, we're letting ourselves down. It's not okay. We shouldn't do that, right? Tough day for me today, losing that friend, very tough. But still, you know what? Luke and I are here podcasting because it does a couple of things for me. One is that, I want to talk about this so I get that chance to channel what I'm feeling. So therapeutic for me for sure. Chance to share the message in hopes that it helps somebody else out there. I mean, that's the whole platform of what we do with the Silverback Blueprint, helping other guys that are going through the same thing, show them that they can get through it, what's on the other side, and that you're not alone. But at the same token, I also have a commitment to put these podcast things out because I've committed to myself that I want to, build a strong podcast. I want to build a platform that helps guys over 40, 50, and 60, right? So it would have been easier for me to sit down and say, you know what, I'm just going to go home and chill. I'm going to watch some TV, be alone with my thoughts and stuff. And those thoughts are still there now. I'm still dealing with it, but I'm also still moving the ball forward because I have some purpose. I have things that have to get done, right? So to me, super valuable to have that overall. Super valuable that, I finish this and I have to pick my daughter up and take her to hockey because you know what? I'm gonna be pretty pleased to be seeing my daughter and get an extra squeeze out of her today, right? Because I could use one today, right? Whereas if I didn't have that, I might not see her till tonight, right? So some structure, guys, super important. The purpose, super important. But get after it, guys, because that's the other thing, like I said earlier, this is another example of life is short, man, right? Especially for you guys listening to this, 40, 50, 60 years old. There's time left, but we have to make the most of it, right? And at the end of the day, we're not going to look back and regret the mistakes we made. We're going to regret the things we didn't do. We're going to regret the things that we always wanted to do, right? There's study after study when they sit down and they go to the old age homes and the residences and stuff, and they talk to the older people about, the regrets they have. And the regrets, the highest ones are always, the things they always wanted to do and they didn't do. They always thought there'd be more time. They get to it later. Well, I want to, but I'm afraid to do it. It's the regrets of those things that they feel the most overall, right? And I don't want that. I don't want that for me. I don't want that for you guys, right? I want us to go out and get shit done. So I'm the kind of guy that I'm hurting today, but I'm going to take that and I'm going to channel it and I'm going to push it forward to push the next project to the next level, finish things at a higher level, keep moving forward because the alternative is not to. And the alternative doesn't appeal to me very much. Right? The alternative isn't going to make me look back and go, wow, that was all worth it. Right? Get after it, getting it done, focusing on those things, guys. And if you don't have something to focus on, then I want you to sit down. I want you to take a pen and paper, take 15 minutes quiet, and think about what is it you want to do? What is it you've wanted to do? What is it something you've longed to do that you just haven't got to? And when you're quieter and you're focused, you can strip away some of the noise and the chaos and you can get to it. Right? It might not happen on the first session. You might have to do it a couple times. Look around, take an inventory, right? Guys, these are all the podcasts we talk about, right? They're there for a reason, right? Because that's the stuff that I'm constantly working on. And when I talk to other guys that are getting shit done, that's what they're working on. When I talk to guys who were in a terrible place physically and mentally and emotionally, and they got through it, That's what they're saying, is that taking the inventory, creating a purpose, making something bigger than them that they have to stay on top of, that pulls them through it, right? Maybe this is a day after listening to this podcast or the last couple talking about the loss and the sadness, that you go out and you reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a long time, that you should have, that you wanted to, and sometimes we get to the point we haven't talked to someone in a long time and we know there's going to be a little bit of, oh, you haven't talked to me in a long time, right? And no one looks forward to that, but you know what? Bite your lip and just do it, right? Get in there and have that conversation, right? And see where that goes. See how that makes you feel, right? And do something. But like I said, guys, it's on us. And that's the hard part. That's the hard part, because at the end of the day, we can't get help until we're ready to help ourselves. And that's what we own. That's our responsibility to it and stuff, right? So if you're not living the life you want to, it's your fault. If you're living the life you want to, it's your fault, right? It's the same thing, guys, right? But have a purpose. Go out and get something. Focus on it. If you want to fucking wrestle, then fucking do it. Then he did. And he took lessons. He came up with a personality and he put it out in the line. And you know what? I'll tell you this right now. When I looked over and I watched him doing it, that guy was pretty fucking happy with himself at the end of it, right? He had a big shit-eating grin all night long, right? And that's what I think is so valuable. And that's what I want all you guys to have, is to have that thing that when no one's looking, you're actually going to pat yourself on the back and congratulate yourselves for doing it and stuff. That's a wonderful thing. You need to go out and find it. It doesn't matter what it is, guys. Fuck what anyone else thinks, right? Do it for you, right? Find that thing and just grab onto it and enjoy that journey. What is it going to take you? Who knows where it's going to take you in 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 years? But I'll tell you one thing, 6 weeks, 6 months, and 6 years happens faster and faster as we get older and older, right? So, remember that. Get started today. Best time to plant a tree, as a Japanese proverb says, is 20 years ago. The second best time, right now. Guys, that's all I have to say for now on this. Head on over to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review or check at the bottom of this episode. If you're listening to it on your iPhone, you can rate us right there. Head on over to Hostile Gear. Grab yourself some cool gear so that you look awesome, comfy, cozy, and energetic. And use the code Silverback to save 20% off. And I'll talk to you guys later.